Hey guys, it's Viejo here, and it is the first week of August in 2024. We had a nice day here on the central coast of California. Got up to mid-70s and nice clear skies, no wind to speak of. No rain either, though, unfortunately, and the state's on fire, as you may know. Hey, what we got going on today is part 4 of the rebuild project on this RL550B that I have. If you're just tuning in, what happened was a friend of mine from the range brought a box of Dillon stuff, reloading gear and some other parts and pieces and stuff, amongst which was a Dillon RL550B that was in dire need of cleanup and some parts and fixing up to get it back into service. It was kind of a dying old girl that had been set off in a corner, hadn't been used in a while. But I took a look at it, I said, yeah, I'll buy it. And so in the first episode, I kind of showed what that was all about. Then in the second piece, we took it all apart, disassembled it. In the third piece, we cleaned it. And what we're going to do today is put it all back together and get it lubed. And we're going to get it back to the condition that it was in when I got it as far as parts and whatnot goes. Except that it's going to be all cleaned up and properly lubricated, and we'll put it back together. And I had thought that I might get through the whole thing, the reassembly and all of the additional new parts that had to be added and some upgrades that I did, but the video just got way too long. So we're going to have to do one more piece of this next week. But let's go ahead and get into this business of getting it put back together after we've cleaned it, and we'll kind of show you what I'm doing to lubricate it. It's pretty simple as we go along the way of putting all the pieces back together. Let's go do that. All right, you'll notice as we go through some of these parts that we had to be lubricated that it looks like I'm putting excessive amounts on there, but the intent is to keep everything free of rust until I get it all back together. And things like the RAM and stuff, you're going to go back and wipe off the excess later. And these pins are real tight press fits, and any excess lube there is going to get scraped off as we push those in there. So we want to have plenty on there to start with. So don't worry too much if you go, oh man, look how much oil is. Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay, while we got this guy off, we're going to go ahead and get some lubricant on there. Dillon specifies motor oil for the main shaft, so that's what we're going to put on here. We'll do that right now before she has a chance to decide it wants to rust up. And we'll kind of take that first coat and sort of wipe it in there a little bit. Get rid of any residue left over from the polishing wheel as well. And then come in here with another good douse of MO motor oil. And we'll just coat the whole thing here. And for the moment, that's going to do that guy. And up into here, before it has a chance to rust up, okay, we're going to get a pretty good coating of oil in there, and I'm just going to get in there with my finger and spread that around from both directions here. Get us a good coating up in there. All that work cleaning this guy up, and now I'm getting it all greasy again. All right, got a goodly amount in there. That should be good for the moment. It's okay to get a little bit more on here at this point than you think you're going to need, because we're going to wipe a bunch of it off later as we get going. Dillon specifies bearing grease for the pivot pins, so we'll get these guys lubed up here. The newer press has a Zerk fitting for some of these and needle grease holes for others. And there's no specification for how much should go on here, but You know, these were such tight fits, anything that's excess is going to get squeezed off of them and wiped up. So we get a good enough coating here to protect as well as lubricate. And again, if there's a little excess, it's going to scrape off as we press these back into place. Okay. All right, we're going to put this toggle system together first. Let's see. This hole is for the handle, yeah, offset at an angle. So these guys are going to go the lettering out. And the pin goes through, and the spring washers go between the toggle and the housing. So let's get that started in there. And we'll get one washer on there. Fireman overhead. Okay, and then coming out this side, get the other washer set on there. And get our other arm. Lettering up, that's the hanger there for the primer catcher. And that slides in there nice and easy. And then we've got to get our E-clips pressed on there. It's going to take both hands. I'm going to be in the way. Stand by. All right, at this point it seemed like it was going to be a little easier for me to work on this if I went ahead and got it mounted on my inline fabrication system here. So I had ordered the correct plate. Okay, and I've got my toggle pins started there. So let's make sure that I'm getting this up in there correctly. And I did, again, added lube in here. So okay, that needs to go in farther, but I want to start my other one first. Okay, that one's started. And I'm not convinced that they need to go more than that. I have to go back and look at my own video, but I think those were pretty much flush as I recall. Yeah, that's better on that side. All right, it's going to be a while before we take those out again. Those are hard. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put the ram in here next. And if you remember, it has this little set screw that goes in there. So we're going to start that. Okay, I've got my set screw in there. And just so that it's not protruding, and I'm going to get a little bit more lubricant on this pin and get that started through, and then we'll put the ram in. Okay, I've got the pin started on that side. Let's see if I can do this without dropping the ram, because this baby is greasy. And there she goes. And my pin is in. Now all I should have to do is push that set screw the rest of the way up there and that pin won't come out. At least that's the plan. Okay, we're good there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the shell plate platform on. And this one, remember we said earlier that there's alignment issues if you don't do this correctly with the tool. And you can't really do that either until we get the priming system, the new priming system installed. That's what the alignment is all about. It's about the priming system. If it weren't for that, it wouldn't matter. But I don't want to lose these parts, and I'm not ready to put the priming system in just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back on. Just to kind of get things back together to where it was when I got the press, and then we'll make the upgrades now that it's all cleaned up. And there's wiggle room here, okay? And if we don't get this lined up correctly, then our primer arm will not line up with the shell plate, and it'll catch. So there's a tool, it's kind of like a guide that goes up into a powder measure die and lines up on your shell plate, kind of. So we'll just get that kind of that far, okay, you know, without over tightening anything at this point. There's a couple of other parts that have to go in here also before we get too far. And I just realized that I put that platform on 180 degrees wrong. You guys sat right there and watched me do that, didn't you? Didn't say anything. But the ejector wire stuff goes over here. All right, let me get this bolted back on. Okay, we got that old shell plate on. We got the bolt started down in there, and the spring and detent ball are in place already. What am I missing? Oh, thought it was going in there too loose. I forgot my rotation star thingy bob. Boy, good thing I got you guys to watch my back. All right. Looking, what are those little holes for? You know what, this thing is ugly. I'm going to go buff this up. All right, that's a little nicer now. We'll go put that on. Now it should lock down properly. Yeah. More gooder. Okay, now we got to put our little set screw in here. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and put the handle back on. kind of need the weight of the handle to hold the ram down while we do that. So get that guy threaded all the way down, and it sort of threads through there and stops eventually and just drops the rest of the way. And again, I'm not going to put this in real tight at the moment, just kind of enough to hold it, because we're going to probably end up taking it off again later. But okay, the handle's on it. Boy, does that run smooth now. Son of a gun. All right, so my little set screws got to go right in here. Try not to lose that. And that's what keeps our shell plate bolt from loosening up as we rotate it. And we're actually a little bit tight on that right now, so before we nail it down, and that's actually too loose, but it's okay for now because I got to take this back off later. We got other parts to install underneath here that have to do with the fail-safe rod, and another piece, kind of a platform that goes over here on this side and bolts from underneath that supports the one of the wheels for the op rod on the priming system. Okay, I guess I could put this ejection thing back in there too. All right, I don't know if you guys can see that, but the arms on this indexing sprocket are bent. They're supposed to stick straight out. Look at that one, it's kind of bent down. I'm gonna see if I can straighten. If not, I'll have to order a new one. All right, I was able to straighten that. These things are really soft though. I think I may go ahead and order that one. I'm gonna look up the parts. I may replace the whole platform as well, but it's indexing so far. Looks okay. But what was happening, those arms were coming over and it wouldn't clear the ejection wire, the case ejector here. All right, so we're back in business there, back to the point where we had started, except it's clean, properly lubricated, and we got it mounted on an inline fab quick change plate. Everything works nice and smoothly. All right, there it is. That takes us back to where we started, except that we're all clean and properly lubricated now. And what we'll do next time then is show you all of the pieces that I had to order from Dillon to get it kind of back up to snuff. Plus we did some upgrades to it that I think make it a better press, at least for the way that I use the 550. So we'll get into that next week, so be sure you come back and check that one. And I do have a playlist going for this series, and I'll have a link to the playlist in the description box below. But from the Viejo bench for now, that's all she wrote.